Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, Atma Occult. Today we will be sharing some of our thoughts and observations on the astrology of the killing of Charlie Kirk. We did make some of these observations shortly after this tragedy took place. However, we did not think it would be appropriate to immediately post a video about this event, given the tragic nature of the situation.
So before we get into the details, we'd like to clarify that this analysis is from the perspective of Vedic astrology. In order to make sure our observations aren't clouded by emotion, it's important for us to try to remain as objective as possible. It's also helpful for us to remember that this event is very unfortunate, not only for Charlie Kirk and his family, but also for America as a country, as I don't think anyone wants to see more political violence happening.
With that said, we can start by going over some of the transits that were taking place on the day of and during the moment of the shooting. One of the first things we noticed about this day was that the sun had just crossed directly over Ketu in the exact degree at 8:03 a.m., which was a little over 4 hours before the actual shooting. But at the exact moment of the shooting, Ketu and the sun were still within 1 degree from each other. And interestingly enough, the first proof available in relation to the assassination was recorded at 8:07 a.m. with a video of the alleged shooter walking near the campus.
This event also took place just 3 days after the lunar eclipse in Purva Bhadrapada nakshatra on September 7th. In our video on the lunar eclipse, we mentioned that there could be danger in the days following the eclipse, especially in relation to the dark side of Purva Bhadrapada, which can represent ideological extremism. We mentioned that Rahu's conjunction with the moon in the same degree would amplify this danger, and Jupiter's placement in Punarvasu nakshatra could signify the launching of attacks. If you want to hear more of exactly what we said about the results of this lunar eclipse, we have a link to that video in the description below.
One more thing that we noticed about Purva Bhadrapada specifically, that it is often said to be symbolized by a hearse, which is the vehicle that carries a dead body away to its final destination. So in this way, it represents the detachment from this earthly realm and the first steps on the path towards reincarnation. This symbolism can be seen playing out in the way that Kirk's body was carried away from the scene of the incident immediately. He was thrown into the back of a black SUV to be driven to the hospital.
The conjunction of the sun with Ketu took place in the sign of Leo, a fiery sign connected with politics and political leaders. Ketu can represent cutting, piercing, and sudden outbursts of violence. Ketu is also the planet which specifically represents the disconnection of the head from the body. This conjunction took place very close to Mercury, a planet which represents the neck. These astrological factors add up to show at this time there would be violence to a political figure where he would be killed suddenly by a fatal injury to the neck.
The day of the attack was the 4th day of the waning phase of the moon. And this is known as Chaturthi in Sanskrit. And in Vedic astrology, Chaturthi is considered a Rikta Tithi, or a hollow phase of the moon. These days are considered to be associated with destruction and inauspicious events. If we look at Charlie Kirk's birth chart, we do not actually have an exact birth time available, but we can read his chart from his moon placement. As a Virgo moon native, the conjunction of Sun with Ketu was taking place in his 12th house of loss and hidden enemies, with his Lagna Lord Mercury. The 12th house can be said to specifically represent enemies who may act like they are friends or benefactors on the surface, but might operate secretly behind the scenes to cause damage to the native.
So Mars on the day of the shooting was transiting his first house directly over his natal sun, aspected by Saturn. This indicates that he was likely going through some kind of ego clash with authority figures in the days leading up to his death. Mars is an extremely malefic planet for Virgo natives, as an enemy of the Lagna Lord Mercury and the Lord of the 3rd and 8th houses, which are both houses that can represent death in certain circumstances. We can be fairly certain that Charlie Kirk's birth nakshatra was Hasta, which would mean that he recently entered the mahadasha, or the major time period of the planet Jupiter. Jupiter rules his 7th house and is placed in his 2nd house, which are both Maraka houses, or death-giving houses. According to the 44th chapter of Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra, the planetary periods of planets ruling or placed in the 2nd or 7th houses of a birth chart can bring death on the native.
According to this same chapter of Parashara Hora, the ultimate cause of death for a native can be determined by planets influencing the 3rd house. Since Rahu is in Charlie's 3rd house in the sign of Scorpio, it can be said that it's acting like the Lord of the sign of Scorpio, which is Mars. Parashara Hora states that when Mars is in the 3rd house, the ultimate cause of death can be from injuries or weapons. Kirk's alleged killer, Tyler Robinson, was born on April 16, 2003, in Washington, Utah. We also do not have an exact birth time for him, but we can also try to look at his chart from the moon. We are not going to do a deep dive into Tyler Robinson's chart in this video, but we can tell you a few things that were very unique about his chart when we looked.
So if Tyler Robinson is indeed a Virgo moon native, and it is slightly questionable because the moon is very close to Libra as well, so it could be Libra, but we chose for a few reasons to use Virgo as his moon sign for this interpretation. The Lord of his moon sign is going into the 8th house from there. And it's with the Sun as the Lord of the 12th house, aspected by Mars. This is an inauspicious combination which can indicate a strong proclivity for involvement in secret activities or even covert operations which involve violence. With the Sun exalted and forming a Buddhaditya yoga with Mercury, this person is likely to be extremely intelligent, even if he does not seem to be on the surface. One thing we also notice, if you lay the charts over one another, is Robinson's Rahu goes directly over Kirk's Ketu, and Robinson's Ketu also goes directly over Kirk's Rahu. This shows an intense karmic debt between these two individuals. With Robinson's Rahu going over Kirk's Ketu in Charlie Kirk's 9th house, it shows that Robinson would have an intense fixation and obsession on Charlie Kirk's beliefs and ideological disposition. With his Ketu going over Kirk's Rahu in the third house, it shows that he would want to cut or abruptly stop Charlie Kirk's communication, which is what ultimately took place.
So there you have it. These were some of our observations on the astrological factors involved in this unfortunate situation. We are not making any claims about what actually transpired. We are just going over some of the astrology that we all can learn from whenever an incident or a tragedy takes place. We are including a link to a mantra that we recently recorded for finding peace in times of danger and uncertainty. So be sure to check that out as well. As always, don't forget to leave us a like, subscribe to our channel, and let us know in the comments what you think about all of this. Thank you for watching, everyone.